Are you ready to boost your confidence when selling so you're able to close more deals? Nikki Rausch will show you how to build a foundation of skills and a mindset that creates sales success without feeling pushy or salesy and without fear of rejection. She is a sales strategist and coach with more than 25 years of sales experience and is master certified in neuro-linguistic programming. This is a radically different approach to selling. It's a no sleaze, no slime, and no stress approach to building your business. This is Sales Maven. Here's Nikki.
Welcome, and thank you for listening to the Sales Maven Show. I'm your host, Nikki Rausch. I'm your own personal sales maven, here to offer you tips, techniques, and the strategies to master your own sales conversations. Today's episode is an on-air coaching call with one of our Sales Maven Society members, Brandy Searcy. Brandy, welcome to the show, friend.
Thank you so much for having me, Nikki.
I'm so excited for our conversation, but before we dive in, please tell everybody who you are, a little bit about you, and your product line.
My name is Brandy Searcy. I am a chemical engineer with over a decade of experience in pharmaceutical formulation development. I was raised by a nurse, and the reason that's important is because my whole childhood into early adulthood was all heavily influenced by Western medicine. That plays into it because I'm one of those unfortunate souls who battled acne in my teens and early 20s. A course of Accutane actually led me to start making my own skincare products. 12 years later, I launched Rain Organica, a skincare company that offers products you can take anywhere. And that is a long story of how I started Rain Organica.
Yeah. I love it though. So Rain Organica, tell me, now I'm privy to some of this because, I get to hang out with you in the Sales Maven Society. And last month we did a member appreciation month, and the members in the group were allowed the opportunity to create what we call a member to member training. And you created this brilliant training for us that I absolutely loved. And now I'm going to say the name of it wrong, but you help me. I think it was like how to give yourself an at-home facial with three products. Is that right?
Yes, that's absolutely right.
Okay. It was so good. So tell everybody a little bit about the product line and maybe even a little bit about your philosophy, because I feel like you do have a unique philosophy about skincare specifically.
Yeah, so part of it just comes from sheer overwhelm of remembering what it was like to just scour store shelves and look at the ingredients list and be like, okay, I'm not putting that on my face. I'm not putting that on my face. Why would they put that ingredient in there? And then at the end of the day, I would say, okay, or at the end of the hour, I would say, okay, I've selected these 6 products to do what I could do in like one product I made myself. Why wouldn't I just make one product myself and simplify the whole routine? And that's really what Rain Organica is all about. It's about simplifying the whole overwhelm that is associated with skincare, providing just 3 products, a cleanser, a toner, and a moisturizer, and allowing people to mix in additional leave-on products if they need to, depending on what their skin is asking for. Mm-hmm. So it's really just cutting through the overwhelm, because I mean, it's been almost 2 decades since I started really trying to be good to my skin, and I can still distinctly remember what it's like.
Yeah. This whole idea of trying to figure out what to use, how much to use. And also you do have a little bit of a unique approach to that. Some of your website is a little bit formulated around the traveler, right? Like the person who has to take products and go out into the world and having to like take all these products with us. I know as as somebody who was a road warrior for many, many years, like, I don't want to use the stuff they give you in the hotel room. And how do I like figure out how to get my regimen with me and make it through security? Right. And so I love that you have this very simplified approach to skincare.
Yeah. And that was quite intentional because I've also been there.
Yeah.
Still almost, I mean, I've been making my own skincare for over a decade. And even today, if I switch up products and start using something else that either that I'm testing out and trying to develop, or if I just forget one of my products and use something that's lying around, like you say, like what the hotel provides, I'm going to break out. That's just all there is to it. So that was really crucial for me. And I've lived on the other side of the country from my family for years. And I'm also like, I'm all about a last minute road trip. So the easier it is to just grab the necessities and go, that's what I'm down for.
Yeah. I love that too. And I think, I mean, yes, many of us have been stuck at home for, well, hopefully all of us have been stuck at home for a really long time, but still this idea of, I always think if you can make it simple, it's better, like versus having to overcomplicate or make somebody feel like, when I'm thinking about the consumer, the customer, your client, whoever it is, whatever you sell, when you can break it down and make it super simple for people, then I think that's where you start to create momentum and customers for life, because most of us crave simplicity. Would you agree?
I absolutely agree. And the older I get, the more I crave it. And just any way to declutter both my calendar and my space, I'm all about it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I feel the exact same. Like this is why I try to make sales simple. This is why I try to make my life simple. Like maybe it's just an indicator of who I am as a person, but simple is always better for me. And I feel like that's one of the reasons like certain clients are attracted to me, because they're like, oh, Nikki's approach is simple. Like I can do that, And I think when you can give somebody a skincare regimen that they can go like, I can do that. Like you've got a home run.
Yes. Well, I feel like when a lot of people hear the word skincare, everything comes to mind about beauty and glamorous and all of this kind of thing. And what I've realized is that it's all about keeping your skin healthy. I mean, it's essentially a topical diet for your skin. And we really, yes, like in theory, your skin can get everything it needs from the diet, but that's not entirely true. I mean, there's so much, because your skin absorbs things so well. There's some things that it's just better to apply it topically and let it soak in. And it's going to be, right there, right near where you need it. And I'm at once a skincare fanatic and at the same time, like such a minimalist. So, I just felt like there was nothing out there. So I just decided, okay, well, why don't I just offer something to people like me who are looking for this?
Which I just bow down, honestly, to you. Anybody who can say like, I think I can make that better, and then goes and creates something from that. I'm in such awe of you and your background, because your background is like, I know we gave the very short version of your background, but like you are a powerhouse. You are a knowledge base that, you walk around with this vast amount of knowledge, and you've taken it and put it into this incredible skincare line that now for the consumer is simple, which I just think is such a talent. And again, I just bow down. I'm so impressed with what you've done and what you've created in this business that you've built. So I'm happy to have you on the show. I'm happy for people to learn about Rain Organica. Please check it out. There's going to be information about Brandy and her website will be in the show notes for you to go and like check out her skincare line, because maybe you're ready for something simple too as a listener. Give it a try and see what happens. So Brandy, for the sake of the show, this really is for your benefit. So we're going to jump into a coaching call. And how can I be of service to you today?
Hey, Nikki. So I reached out to ask about this because I was listening to this. This actually was a chain of events that started by listening to your podcast with your on-air coaching call with Katari and Roxanne. And when you got to the part about how they should consider, or would it be something that they would consider to reach out to trade groups, specifically like sales reps, I stopped the episode and went and started digging and came up with a list of wholesale trade groups to reach out to myself for Rain Organica. And on my very first conversation with one of those groups, after setting up a call, I realized that I was just woefully unequipped to be able to have this conversation with them, because it was a situation where I found myself both as a seller. So I was trying to sell them on Rain Organica, and at the same time, the buyer, because I was trying to determine whether or not this group really was a right fit for selling Rain Organica's products. So I feel like my question today is, when I'm in a situation where I'm trying to figure, or where I'm both selling and potentially purchasing, if you will, what amount of selling should I be doing versus asking questions to be sure that it is the right fit for my brand as well?
Okay. I actually really love this question. And as a listener, if you're wondering what episode that was, it's the episode that's titled How to Get Your Product Mainstream with Limited Time and Resources. So nothing tickles me more than to know that you stopped the episode, went and implemented the advice that I gave them to figure out, like, hey, is this an option for me with what I'm doing? So when you're in this situation, I mean, you're right. It's a little bit of a unique situation because there is a piece that you are selling your product line as to why they would want to rep your product line. And at the same time, there's this, like, you're kind of wearing two hats, really, because then there's this other side where you really do need to be discerning, is this the right rep firm for me? Do they get it? Do they get the vision? Do they have the relationships in place that are going to make the, to really make an impact in the business? Because otherwise there's no point in having these people on the team. Like, they're useless otherwise. So having a little bit of a balance, my suggestion off the cuff here is for you to be thinking, having a set list of questions prepared that you need the answers to in order to decide, like, is this the right firm for me? But also being prepared with a little bit about the product line, like having a presentation essentially, or at least an outline of the product line, the history of it, why it's such a unique product in the marketplace, and how you are open to having it positioned. And so at that point, like, you want to get them excited, frankly. You want to get them excited about the product line. And then we need to establish, are they the right rep firm? And so, like, again, with a rep firm, like, you don't want the rep firm to just be like, yes, we'll take your product. Any product, we'll take it. They're probably not a good fit for you, because they need to be discerning as well. And so, like, finding that balance, I would almost say, like, I want to say it's 50-50. Like, there's 50% of the time where you're going to be positioning your product and highlighting, it to get them excited about it. But then there's this other piece where you really need to start to figure out, like, is this the right rep firm for me? So here's what I would think of it as. It's like a job interview, frankly. And in a job interview, like, you don't ever want to go in being desperate for the job, even if there's a part of you that is. Because if you go in being desperate for the job, like, you're going to take a job that you regret taking, and now you have this, like, weird blip on your resume when you go in for the next job because you left that because it was a bad fit for you. So in a job interview, it is finding that, like, balance of, we're both selling each other here. Like they should be selling you on why their company is the right company for you. And you need to be selling them on why your product line is the right product line. So I'm going to say it's 50-50, but you may find that in certain instances, like you're doing 70% of selling and 30% investigating, and it could be flipped on the next meeting. But I would say first and foremost is my suggestion to you is to interview between 3 and 5 firms before you decide on who is the firm for you.
Okay, that's helpful. Also, I wanted to circle back around to the list of questions. So I had a list of questions.
Okay.
The problem was I feel like they weren't the right ones to be asking to really determine if the rep group was right for me or for my brand.
Okay.
They were really more, they almost didn't feel like discovery questions. They felt more like questions that could wait until after determining if they were the right fit.
Okay. So let's talk about some possible questions here. I'm just going to throw some off the top of my head, and then we'll see. Of course, you can always like dismiss any that you don't like. And then the ones that you're like, oh, okay, I'm asking something like that, or I hadn't thought to ask that. So if I was going to be interviewing a rep firm that was going to go out and represent my company and what I would sell, the thing that I would want to know is, how long have you been doing this? How long have you been in business? How do you, I would want to know what types of relationships do you have and how long have you had those relationships?
Yes. So those along with how many reps are in the group and like what area do you cover? What geographical area do you cover? Those were definitely in that set of core questions. I think where I was really struggling was, so they also carried some other skincare brands, but everything was a little bit different. It was more geared towards body and home experience than necessarily travel.
Mm. So around that line, the question that you are probably going to want to ask is, have you ever repped a skincare line before? What skincare lines do you have right now on your or in your portfolio or in your list of manufacturers that you rep? And I would want to know, like, do you see my product line as being complementary or a competitor to any of the other lines that you currently carry? And then I would also want to know if they say a competitor, well, that's a red flag for you right away, because you have an uphill battle going in to get the attention of their sales team, because the sales team already has relationships with this other skincare line, frankly.
Right.
And they've already built that know, like, and trust factor. And so now you going in and trying to get them to put your product first or position your product first is probably not in your best interest, frankly. But if they've had a skincare line in the past, I would want to know, like, how long did you work with the company? Why did you stop working with the company? Like, I would want to know that answer. And whether or not they tell you they're going to give you the best version of whatever the answer is. And sometimes the answer is, we got fired, and we got fired because we weren't selling enough of their product line, which is not a good answer. But that's like, you might not ever get anybody to come right out and say that, but you got to read between the lines a little bit.
Okay.
But it could just be that they've decided, like, this company decided not to work with rep firms anymore because they wanted to do fully, online presence or something like that. Okay, then that's a legitimate reason.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
And then I would want to know, from the relationships that you have right off the bat, what would be your strategy for getting my product out in front of your current, customers? Like, what's your go-to strategy to introduce a new line out to your customers? I would want to know that too. And if they don't have one, that's a problem.
Wow, that is a great question. Okay, that is definitely not in the question bank.
Because there is like, they're going to have to do feet on the street. And now maybe that's not so much like an appropriate term today because of, a lot of our stuff is being done virtually, but they're going to have meetings with people to introduce your product line. And I would want to know what kind of meetings they typically have, because sometimes rep firms, what they'll do is they'll set up a meeting with a client, for instance, and they'll bring 5, 10 like of their companies that they rep. So how are you going to get that attention? If they're going in with 10 products or 10 different companies and saying like, we're representing, this home care line, we're representing this body care line, and oh yeah, and here's the skincare line. Or are they going to do something in the first, 60 to 90 days to really highlight your product to their customer base? And how do they typically roll that out?
Okay.
Now,
yeah, that's an excellent question.
And do they want you to participate in some of those meetings? Which frankly, if I were you, I would want to be in some of those meetings. They may or may not want you in them because they might want to keep their relationships like really like secure and like, oh, we don't know you well enough to introduce you. But again, this is why you're asking like, what's your plan? What's your strategy? How do you roll out a new product line?
Okay. I think that is so helpful. That was the question that I was really searching for on the call and I couldn't find. And it's one of those situations where I feel like the representative I was talking to could almost guess what question she was anticipating the questions that I was asking next before I could even get them like asked. And I felt the whole conversation going sideways. And I've listened to several of the episodes on how to mirror whomever you're talking with and that kind of thing. But at the same time, I was so struggling with being able to do that on the call, like in the midst of the moment when I was also, I felt like I was seeking information and just didn't know quite how to ask it during that call.
Okay. So in those moments, giving yourself some time to like process and like catch up a little bit might also be a useful skill for you.
Okay.
So remember that, again, just like you're selling them on taking on your product line, they should be selling you on why their company is the right company to take you on. And so that person that you're talking to needs to have some selling skills too. And if they're just steamrolling over you, guess how they treat their clients? Guess how the relationships they have go? And if she's like, I know all these things that you're going to ask, so I'm just going to tell it to you, blah, 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 blah. And she's like bulleting out all of this, like, it's like the shotgun approach, right? Like she's like dumping all this information, also what I call word vomiting, all over you. And you're struggling to keep up. If you were on a video call, one of the things I would suggest doing is don't ever be afraid to like hold your hand up almost in the stop in like this, like, if you're going to tell somebody to stop with your hand, do you know what I'm talking about? Like that gesture.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You want to do it soft. So it's not like in her face, even if it's on camera, like you're not going like, stop, halt, like not that, but even just a little bit of a subtle, like hand up and go, okay, give me a second here just to process what you said. And I'm going to make some notes. And then you like take some time, write some things down. And then you come back with a question. Now, if you do this little halt thing and you say, let me take some time, and slow your voice down when you do it, by the way, let me take some time to process what you've just said and think of what I want my next question to be. If she just keeps steamrolling right over you, they're probably not a good fit, frankly.
Okay.
Because if they treat you like that, they probably treat other people like that. And you don't want somebody repping your product line who that's their approach, right? Like she should, in a way, it's almost like we're not trying to embarrass her or shame her in any way. But at the same time, she needs to recognize in that moment, if you did that to me, if I was trying to earn your business and you did that to me, that would be an indicator for me to be like, oh, okay, Nikki, slow your roll here, sister. Give them some time to process because I'm fire hosing the heck out of this person right now, and I need to back off. And that's really the approach that she should take. She should start to slow down a little bit and let you ask some questions. But if she's just like, I know everything you're going to ask me, so I'm just going to tell it all to you so that we don't have to waste our time with the questions, that's not a good rapport builder. And those of us who are fast thinkers, fast talkers, and have been in the industry for a really long time of whatever it is they're selling, we can sometimes get in these modes. Believe me, there are times where I just want to be like, here's all your answers. Like, let's move on. But that's me lacking in rapport building, which is inappropriate in a sales situation.
Okay, Nikki, that just completely changed my perspective of that conversation, because I was thinking that throughout the entire conversation, I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm doing everything wrong here. And also at the same time, like struggling for the question I couldn't find. I knew the question I wanted to ask. I couldn't figure out how to phrase it appropriately while we were on that call. What you just said puts a whole new perspective on that. Like, oh, wow. Okay. Yes, I'm both buying and selling in this conversation, but so is she.
Yep.
And that was the part of it that I hadn't even thought about until just now.
Well, I'm so glad we have this conversation then, because I want you to hear this, and any of the listeners, when you're in these situations, remember, like, rapport goes both ways. It's not just your job. Like, it is your job to earn people's rapport when you want to sell to them. But if somebody's trying to sell to you and they're not taking the time to build rapport, if they're not slowing down when they see that you need time to process, if they're just, again, like shotgunning, word vomiting, information at you so that they can move on with their day, that shows a lack of relationship building skills. And me being the believer that I am in that, relationship selling skills is how you sell stuff. And if they can't do it with you, they probably don't do it with other people too. And I would never want them to rep my product. Okay.
Well, that is such great insight.
I'm so glad that we had this conversation, and I'm glad that you have this new awareness too, because I hope that what this does is it allows for you to show up in your conversations with a little bit more confidence about you and who you are, because dang, I mean, Brandy, you have such an amazing background with so much experience. And you're, more than likely you're talking to salespeople, and I'm a salesperson, so I'm not like bashing salespeople, but like, let me just say from my own perspective, if I'm sitting here talking to somebody who's an engineer, I'm probably assuming they're pretty smart. Like, if you're an engineer, you got some stuff going on. If you have created a formula that makes a product that somebody can put on their face and keep their face healthy, like, you're smart. You're really smart, and you've got a lot going on. And there should be a level of respect both ways, just like you want to respect other people and their, knowledge and what they bring to the table. At the same time, I want you to show up from this place of like, I know what I know, and I am an expert, and I'm okay of standing in my place of power. And I'm not going to just turn it over to you because you want a shotgun approach your like sales pitch to me. No. Mm-mm.
That's so helpful. Like, yeah, okay, just any kind of confidence booster. I'm down for that. Thank you.
And maybe, yeah. I know in the training, I teach the NLP mandala. And if you haven't gone through that training in the, which one is that? That's in the Power of the First Impression in the training center. If you haven't gone through and listened to that piece on the NLP mandala of doing something to manage your state before you go into those meetings or before you get on those calls, I would really encourage you to do that. Take the time, and it doesn't have to be a ton of time, right? Like, I'm not saying even take 10 minutes out of your day before you get into the meeting, but take 30 seconds or a minute to really manage your state so that when you go into these situations where you feel a little bit like, I'm going to be selling a little bit here, but I'm also going to be buying potentially a little bit here too. So I want to manage my state so that I can be the best version of myself. I'm willing to do the work to build rapport. And I'm also going to stand in my credibility and expect the other person to return that.
Okay.
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 Okay. I feel like I just went off on like this crazy tangent with you a little bit, but let's, I feel like just even that of being able to, one, talk about the question that I gave you of like understanding what's their process for rolling something out as a new product line. That alone is going to help, I think, get you some answers that you need to, again, discern, is this a potential, rep company for me or not? And if anybody makes you feel like you'd be lucky to have us rep your product line, they're not a good fit. Okay. Just like I would never advise you to treat anybody else like that. Like you should just be like so grateful that I let you rep Rain Organica. Like I don't want you to have that attitude either, but let's not ever give our business to somebody who's going to treat us that way, because it creates this imbalance of power in the relationship and in the conversations. And you'll always feel like you're on your back foot. And frankly, it's a really bad place to be in these types of relationships, because there has to be a balance. There just has to be, because otherwise these rep firms will walk all over you. And I know, because I've managed many rep firms in my time and had to work with guys who didn't like me coming in as a young woman and in a position of having some little bit of power and having to ask them to do their job, and having like pushback from some people. And then, and then working with another rep firm that treated me with respect and I treated them with respect. And we built these incredible relationships and we sold a lot of product together.
Right. And that's definitely where I want to be. I want to have a good relationship.
And the relationship is important, because as much as like, if all they're going to do is put you on their price sheet and send it out to their customer base, you don't need them. Unless they really do have this like incredible customer base and they can show you how people just buy right off of the price sheet, then maybe we'll be a little bit more flexible in my approach there. But for the most part, these guys are building relationships. These people are building relationships with the people who are buying from them, which is why when they send out a price sheet, they go, tell me more about this product line. Or they go, hey, I'd like to do a demo of this product, or I'd like to give you a little, walkthrough of this product line and how to position it in the marketplace. So can we get a call? And they're like, yes, we can. Not because they're super interested about hearing the presentation, but because this person has the relationship with that person that they're like, hey, yeah, of course, I'll get on a call and hear anything you want me to know as a buyer.
Yeah, that is definitely helpful. I have been using the NLP mandala.
Okay, good.
It helps quite a bit. I still, communication and definitely sales are not my strong suits. So anytime there is a lack of confidence walking into those conversations, kind of regardless of what I've done to prepare.
Which that's going to come with time too, right? Like you're going to get one of these rep firms, which, there is also a little bit of like, you might kiss a few frogs before you find your prince. Like, that saying, which is maybe it's not even politically correct anymore for me to say that. I don't know, but it's this idea, like sometimes you got to go through the bad to get to the good. And it sounds like your first conversation with this person was just not a great conversation. And therefore, I think that shakes the confidence a little bit. And there's no need for it to be like, there's no need for you to be shook. It's just, let's move on to the next potential company here and see how that conversation goes. Because you also don't want somebody who shows up and they're like, we'll do anything you want, right? Like, right. And we don't have anything to say here, because then that makes you a little nervous too. Unless you find a new company that's like, look, if you take a chance on us, we're going to hustle and we're going to show you what we can do. Then maybe you give them a chance, but they still have to have some credibility. They still have to be able to sell, because that's what their job is selling. So where you're still like getting your legs under you for like sales and getting more comfortable with selling, these people that you're hiring, their legs should be fully under them and they should understand the sales process.
Okay.
Okay. So if they make you feel icky, they make you feel weird, they're missing the boat here on sales. Because you should be wanting, like, you should walk away from that meeting going like, I so want to work with them. Like, I want them to rep my product line.
All right. That is such great insight.
All right.
Yes, so that definitely helps so much.
Okay, good. So I hope this was helpful. And I'm excited to hear how these next conversations go. And if you want to write up your kind of list of questions, post it in the group and tag me. I'm happy to like look it over and say, here's another question I would maybe, add here, or here's a question that you might not need the answer to. So I would take that off. Like, I'm happy to give you some feedback on that inside the society. So please feel free to do that.
Okay. That sounds great.
Okay, good.
I'll do that.
So as we wrap up today, I'm excited to hear what's next for you. But as we wrap up today, I always end the podcast with 2 questions for you. The first one is, what's been one of the benefit of being in the Sales Maven Society?
There are so many benefits. I think for me, okay, in addition to the feedback that you provide, this is just what everybody says, and it is so true. The feedback that you provide in the Sales Maven Society when we reach out and ask you for help on sales language. Also, the treasure trove of videos and worksheets that are available to society members. I mean, I've been a society member now for a couple of months, and I also consider myself to be pretty fast paced working through material. I've been binging on it for a couple of months now, and I don't even think I'm halfway through. So there is just so much information there. And lastly, like, it really is the community. I've been part of other Facebook communities. This one is so different. Just the caliber of all of the society members. I'm now listening to Brandy Business podcast on the side too with Melina.
Yay.
So yeah, it's just, it's a whole different caliber of group. It's awesome.
I love that. Thank you for all those kind things that you said. And I love that you're talking about like you're going through and like you can binge on stuff and you're like, there's still more here. I keep trying to tell people like, I set this up with this idea that it's like an on demand. So you just go in and you get what you need. And every once in a while, people will come in and they'll leave the group in the first month because they'll be like, I was overwhelmed with how much content is in there. And I always want to say, like, do you say the same thing to Netflix? Like, I couldn't possibly have your streaming service because there's just too much content to watch. Like, the idea is not to try to watch it all in one sitting. It's like to get it as you need it and to go back and review it when you're ready. And so I love that you are going through it and that you're still finding like there's still more to be learned there. So I love that. All right. So thank you. And then the last question is, how can people get a hold of you? Because I suspect we'll probably have some listeners that are going to want to go check out your product line.
Yes. So you can find the products online at rainorganica.com. And also, I just launched a new podcast called The Alchemy of Things.
What? I didn't know this. Congrats.
Thank you. It's brand new as of the day that we're recording this. So,
oh my gosh. So say it again. The Alchemy of
Things.
The Alchemy of Things. I love that.
Yes. So it's all about the science of skincare and holistic living.
Fantastic. Congratulations on your podcast launch. I am so excited for you. And
thank you.
For people to go and check out the podcast. Please check out the podcast. Like, obviously you listen to podcasts because you're listening to this now. So check out the podcast if you have interest in that subject. And also check out Rain Organica. So it's RAIN Organica.com. So like organic, but with an A on the end. Is that right? Organica.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. So rainorganica.com, and you'll find more information about Brandy and her amazing background. And you'll certainly get to see the products that she recommends. And do you have your opt-in up on the download that people can like opt in for? Is that on your website?
It is at the very bottom of the homepage. You can sign up for a free download on how to take care of your skin in 3 easy steps.
And I love this. I've spent quite a bit of time with this document, so I feel like I know it. And
Yes.
It's so packed full of great information. So that's another thing for you to go check out from her website. So Brandy, thank you so much for being here. It's been such a pleasure to have this conversation with you. And I feel like I want to do the happy dance over here that you launched your podcast. It's so exciting. I love that you're talking to rep firms to get your product out to the mainstream and, a wider distribution of the product. That's super exciting. So thank you for being here, friend.
Yes. And thank you so much for having me, Nikki.
My pleasure. It really is. All right. So for you, the listener, if you've listened to more than one episode in the year of 2021, you know that 2021, I have deemed the year of the question. So I like to end the podcast with giving you a question to have in your back pocket for your sales conversations. And here's a question that I find I've been giving this question or framing this question often in the Sales Maven Society in some of the emails that people are asking me to edit and the messages they're asking. So here's the question. Have you made a decision one way or the other about working together? And would you please let me know your decision? ? If you have not ever asked somebody this question, it might be time. If there's somebody who's sitting out there and you think, I thought they were going to buy, or they seemed really interested, they asked for a proposal and then crickets, this is a great question to ask to try to get that easy, like yes or no. So here it is one more time. Have you made a decision one way or the other about working together? And would you please let me know your decision? So see what happens when you ask that question. All right. If you want to come hang out with Brandy and all the other amazing people in the Sales Maven Society, please do. You can join right now by going to salesmavensociety.com. This is a monthly membership. This is the place where you bring your questions, your concerns, your individual sales situations, the things you've got going on. I'll provide answers, guidance to boost your confidence so that you know what to say, how to say it, and what to do to move your revenue forward in your business. And of course, you have access to the amazing people inside the group to ask questions. Somebody said to me earlier this week on a call, like, I've been hesitant to join the Sales Maven Society because I felt like maybe I wasn't ready yet. I want to say to you, if you have any interest, come dip your toe in the water and see, because there is a myriad of people in there at all different levels of their business. We have uber super successful people who are in the 7 figures. We have people who haven't even sold something yet, but understand the value of learning to sell. So come hang out with us and see. And you can dip your toe in the water right now for only $47 for your first month. So I'll take $100 off your first month when you enter the coupon code 47trial. So that's 47 TRIAL. And you'll find that coupon code can be entered at salesmavensociety.com. So we'd love to have you. And if we haven't connected yet on social media, hey, let's connect. Please, you're invited. You'll find me on LinkedIn and you'll find me on Instagram. Those are the 2 places I hang out. Sales Maven, Nikki Rausch. Either of those should get you to me. And I'd love to hear what's going on with you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Brandy, for all that you shared. And have a great rest of the day, everybody. Take care.
Thanks for listening to Sales Maven. Visit us online at yoursalesmaven.com/maven for more resources to boost your confidence and skills.